episode 194. My name is Dave, and I'm joined by Michael.
How's it going, Dave? We have an interesting episode to talk about.
This is why we were waiting to record on Wednesday. We knew this was coming.
Yep.
You know, like Michael had a feeling. No, I was playing softball last night. That's why
Yeah,
we were recording
Jason
today.
Schreier didn't CC us on his email to PlayStation.
I had late softball games. I have recorded after I played softball, but when I play softball at like 6:15 and 7:15, and I can be home by 9, I can do it. But when I play games at 8:30 and 9:40, I can't.
Yeah.
So that one's on me. So anyway, we are Digital Days Gaming. We are a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday morning, 6 a.m. Eastern time, unless something changes that, like randomly. But usually the only thing that changes that are like Nintendo Directs, State of Plays, Microsoft events, things of that nature. That's really the only thing that alters it. So 99% of the time, I'm confident in saying it's 6 a.m. Eastern time on Thursdays. If you're listening, if you found us, thank you so much for taking the time to listen and give us a try. Please consider subscribing and as well as reviewing, leaving a comment if you can on the review. It helps to grow and lets people know, as well as there's a bunch of stuff linked in the show notes for you to join our community through Facebook, through Twitter, through Discord. Any of that stuff is linked in the show notes. Our Patreon is there. PayPal is there if you want to support us that way. And you can also hang out on our Twitch, twitch.tv/DigitalDaysGaming, where we are a Twitch affiliate. If you would like to use a Twitch subscription on us, you can do so. If you've linked your Amazon account and your Twitch account, you get Prime Gaming. You get a bunch of freebies from different games, loot boxes, codes, skins, colors, just loot in general, as well as a free subscription to the streamer of your choice. If that's us, that's awesome. Please consider doing so. You can usually just hit the subscribe button on mobile. I think it's working a little bit better now, and we do not have to be live for you to do that. And the subscription does not auto-renew. So please consider just checking it as you're listening. Again, we don't have to be live. You can just search us on Twitter. You just type in Digital Days Gaming. And even if we're not live, you can still hit the sub button. And then just click on Use Prime Sub. If you have a question about doing that, please reach out on Discord, on Facebook, or on Twitter, and I can gladly help you. I will help you even if it's not subscribing to us. I just don't think you need to let Bezos keep any of his money at all, ever.
Yeah, get what you can from that man.
Yeah. So, all right. With that said, like I said, a bunch of stuff is linked in the notes. Sharing the show helps us. Downloading the show, leaving comments on, sharing on Facebook and retweeting on Twitter. All that stuff helps the show grow. And we're going to jump right into the news.
All right, Dave. Our plans changed significantly. Like an hour before recording. Like I had to adjust the show notes, but yeah, Jim Ryan, president and CEO of PlayStation, has announced that he is retiring after 30 years at Sony. So in the press release that PlayStation released 10 minutes after Jason Schreier reported that this was happening, there's not a lot there, but Jim Ryan said, like, it's after 30 years at Sony, he's kind of hit a difficulty trying to get that work-life balance going, being someone that lives in Europe and that's working in America, and he wants to focus more on family and retire. Jim Ryan has been the SIE CEO since 2019, and he will be temporarily succeeded by Sony COO, CFO Hiroki Totoki, who will take over and be the interim CEO of PlayStation until it finds its next leader. And I believe the phrasing I saw is like they're trying to find their next path forward or set their new goals. But this is obviously a big move. Dave, I don't want to say we predicted this, but a couple months ago we said after the Activision Blizzard stuff, we didn't see a future where both Phil Spencer and Jim Ryan are the head of their companies within a year or two.
Yeah, this is kind of on the heels of, I feel like Ryan just had a Forbes article last week that I know you don't have in here either, or it was rehashing of it.
It was a rehash. I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, he was essentially just bashing all of Microsoft plans and boasting all of his plans. And I'm sorry, I think, let me state the record. From 2019 to today, I think overall, if you pull back and look at Jim Ryan's tenure, give it a 10,000-foot view, he did a phenomenal job.
Yes, they are number one and sold tens of millions of consoles.
So yeah, I mean, and fighting through the pandemic, he's on a 3-to-1. There, if you believe all the numbers, he's on a 3-to-1 ratio over Xbox, which is his main competitor and his main goal. Although I would argue the PC is much closer now than Xbox was, and as a platform, those lines are blurring over time, anyways. All during his tenure as well. But again, he did a phenomenal job of taking over essentially a train that was on a straight track and moving at a pretty good speed when Layden jumped off. So and he kept it going. So, kudos to him as opposed to, again, comparing, because we're always going to have to, the train wreck that Phil Spencer had to take over after the other guy, Don Matrick. I just said, "Oh, you want to play online? Go buy our old console." Like that.
The train wreck that was the Xbox One.
So. And whether that means that Phil Spencer literally took an entire pitchfork and shoved it right into the train track and turned it 180 degrees. That's neither here nor there. That's up to you. Yeah. But a lot of the times, like when and I equate a lot of things to sports, and people know that a lot. When you're a dynasty in sports, you really don't spend time talking about the person that you continuously beat. Like you try not to. Rival. Yeah, if you're a rival, again, everybody knows I'm from Metro Detroit. For the 15 years when Ohio State was kicking Michigan's ass regularly in college football, Ohio State was like, that's not a focus of ours. Like, we're focused on bigger things, and we don't care about them. We don't care about Michigan. We've got bigger things and better things to do. Jim Ryan was obsessed with making sure that it was clear that Xbox's direction or decisions making was terrible. He was obsessed with stating that, to the point of where I think it made him look awful.
And I
optically.
Yeah, and I think that's what this comes down to. I think it's a combination of optics, because the head of a company, you don't want to have bad optics, especially after the FTC stuff came out, the CMA stuff came out, where publicly Jim Ryan was saying this is gonna hurt, it's a monopoly, it's gonna destroy the industry, and then to lawyers, to the various government agencies, it turned once he was under oath of like, it's not that big a deal. Or the emails that came out saying like to the employees like, no, this actually isn't a big deal, we're still gonna be better, actually this is a terrible idea for Xbox. I think that plays a part in it. I don't think he was forced out or anything like that. I definitely do think this was a scenario where he's at the age where you would probably consider retiring. The optics didn't look good, and he probably just didn't want to deal with like the optics having. We're not the only podcast that gave Jim Ryan shit, and he doesn't know who we are. But there are higher, bigger podcasts out there, news outlets out there that were kind of saying bad things about Jim Ryan, and he's at the age, has too much money, sort of thing, where he's just like, do I need this extra chaos in my life? And there was probably some people at PlayStation or at Sony that it's like, dude, you look really bad right now through the FTC stuff, through the CMA stuff. And it was just like a perfect storm of just like, you know what, why don't I just walk away?
Yeah. So, I mean, I can only give you like a brief, and again, like I'm not a CEO. Like, I run my own, I run a business, a corporate based business, and I execute a plan. There are times where I essentially have three reactions when I get a letter of resignation from an associate. Of okay, like sure, like you worked here because you were working here to get your degree. You got your degree. You're moving on to do bigger and better things. Cool. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your efforts. Thank you for working for me. I wish you luck in your future. I'm glad I was able to help bridge that gap for you. Like that scenario. Or I get one. I'm like, thank God. Like, please leave. Like, thank you for your 2-week notice. Your services are no longer required. And then I get one that's like, oh no, what's going on? What do I need to do to keep you? Those are the three scenarios that I feel when that happens. Yeah. Now, I'm not Sony, so I'm not saying that. I predicted that Sony's like, thank you for your service. We appreciate what you did, but we're in agreement with, it's time to go.
Yeah. And I think it's probably along those things where it's probably a combination of both sides. Like, do we really want to keep going with this? And both came to the conclusion, no. Because if you're a money person at Sony, you're like, Jim Ryan's killing it. We don't want him to leave. Or if you're, more worried about the optics, which we've learned, like when we read like the Sega versus Nintendo books, like the Japanese companies very much are about image over everything. And Jim Ryan didn't really leave like a good image as like being the front person for PlayStation. So I could see it being all sorts of combinations of things. I could say though, Jim Ryan's big thing has been turning things into live service games, kind of pivoting everything.
Attempting.
No, that's what I'm saying. Pivoting to live service. had a very lofty goal of like, hey, 12 games by 2026. We're 3 years from that. We have not seen one yet. And I could see that.
I expect, by the way, I expect whoever the CEO is to 100% backtrack on that.
I don't think 100%. I could say like 50-50.
No, I expect it to reduce it.
Yeah, reduce it. Yeah, but not like the full, like all 12 games.
I mean, yeah, and I don't mean 100%. Like, I'm saying 100%. He's going to
maybe balance,
temper expectations.
Yeah, and I could see, you know, PlayStation being like, we shouldn't go full, you know, direction of like, we're going to be a live service company. It's not our bread and butter, and that's something Jim Ryan definitely seemed like he was passionate about. So I could see that also being a thing where he had these lofty goals for 2026, and then others at PlayStation or Sony were like, maybe we should pull back a little bit. And that could be frustrating if you're trying to run the company and you get some resistance on your grand direction.
Especially without releasing resistance.
Yeah, and that could be...
Sorry, couldn't resist.
That could be a reason why someone would want to leave. Of just like, hey... My grand vision is getting some issues, some pushback, and I don't want to deal with that. So I could see that also playing a part into it, and you will probably see some stuff. Like, I'm sure there are people at PlayStation that are like, what the fuck are you doing with our golden goose at Naughty Dog? Like, why are they wasting their time on this when it's clearly not going to work? I'm not saying that is like the main reason to do it, but I'm sure there has to be people at PlayStation that are like, I don't like the direction of some of this stuff and some of the studios.
Why is 70% of our best studio working on a service game when they're a first party, when they're a single player studio?
Why are you making Neil Druckmann waste story time on this when he's got the #1 TV show in the world and then also one of the biggest game franchises? So,
well, and also like Ryan's come out publicly and said that his expectations are multi-million-dollar sales of copies. Like, he wants franchises to sell 15 to 20 million copies. He wants blockbuster number style video games. They haven't got there yet.
Yeah, like they've got, you know, like Spider-Man is like the one that has gotten there, but like original IPs just haven't really hit.
Right.
Well, they've hit, but just not Nintendo levels.
Not
which is the ultimate.
I'd have to look and see. I don't know. Like, can you? Over 12 million copies of PlayStation first party titles is rare. Announced 12 million sold announced.
I would say
of a specific game, not a franchise, but a game.
Spider-Man's hit that for sure. I think they were at like the 12 to 15. And I want to say God of War did pass 10. I don't know how much further it went past 10. But there have been some franchises that have been able to do that. But they have a lot of franchises that live in that like 5 to 10 range.
Yeah. Which is totally fine.
Yes.
But just not when your CEO comes out and says the expectation is 15 to 20.
Yeah. So like that could also be part of the reason. And
God of War 2018 reaches 23 million sales worldwide.
Yeah. So God of War,
this
Spider-Man,
was November of 2022.
Yeah.
I don't remember if PCs are in there. I think PC's in there also.
No, PC came out a little later.
Okay.
Or probably around that time. But that all plays a part into it. And also, like, we could analyze the specific thing of, like, difficulties living in Europe and working in North America. If you look at all the acquisitions that PlayStation has done, or most of the acquisitions, they've been mostly, like, European studios, to where it almost seems like Jim Ryan was trying to shift, you know, like, where the majority of the studios are for PlayStation to being Europe-based, maybe to get them to headquarters in Europe as opposed to having a headquarters in San Francisco. So there also could have been like him trying really hard to get the headquarters changed over to Europe and PlayStation resisting that as well because North America is the biggest market. So there's a lot of different things you can look in here as a reason why Jim Ryan would step down or why PlayStation could consider being like, do you want to step down? Because we want to change directions. So Dave, you mentioned that Forbes article that was kind of going around last week. So I know there's a lot of people that are probably like happy that Jim Ryan's leaving because there were some stuff in that article that kind of made it sound like, oh, if we can have light service features into traditional single player games, it almost seemed like microtransactions were coming back. So there definitely seems like that goal for 2026 definitely might have, the parameters might have been changed on what they were going to consider.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I want to backtrack for a second. So Do you know that Horizon Zero Dawn has also? See, this is. I'm having a hard time finding an article. So
Okay.
like as of yeah.
As a franchise, I know it's so pretty well.
Yeah. So like Horizon Zero Dawn is relating to 20 million copies. This article is posted April 5th of 2022. The top 15 best-selling PlayStation games of all time. Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft are on here. Like the top 5 are all non-first parties, which is fine. FIFA's on here, top 7 actually. At number 8 is Horizon Zero Dawn at 20 million.
Yes, and that's across PS4, the PS5 version, or there was no PS5 version.
Yeah, and then God of War 2018 says 19.5 million plus. I don't know what the plus means. Last of Us, 19 million. Uncharted 4, 16 million. So, in terms of like, and then Gran Turismo 3 is at 14.89 million.
Yeah.
So, as of November, like, and you start talking like there's 4 games that hit Jim Ryan's blockbuster criteria of like 15 to 20 million. And I am relatively confident in saying none of these games came out while he was president.
They came when he started. Yeah. Because Horizon was 2017, God of War was 2018. Yeah, so like a year before he became. Yep. They were all Sean Layden led games. So correct. If you look at...
So not necessarily... I'm not trying to hate on Jim Ryan, but I'm just saying that he has come out and publicly said his expectations for software sales are 15 to 20 million blockbuster-esque movie-style numbers, and he did not hit those. I'm just... like that for me, that's always been a sticking point. I am a very analytical person. I understand that. I get that. Not everybody else thinks the same way I think. Video games are in a decline right now. Yes, and yes. However, when you're a CEO of a company and you say ABC and nothing hits ABC except for your console, that's problematic for me. Now, this is just as of April of 2022. Granted, I understand this article is 15 months old. So,
well, if you look at like how like Hollywood studios are run, usually when a new CEO goes over, they kind of don't count anything from the previous regime. They even kill some of the things from the previous regime, and then they take credit for anything they started from the ground up. And if you look at it, Jim Ryan really hasn't been around long enough to see something from the ground up get released outside of Miles Morales, which was like a really high quality expansion. And you can count Forbidden West, which sold okay, but that was also a launch title-ish on the PS5. Not launch title, but like still early in the life cycle.
Came out on PS4 too, though.
Yeah. It did come out on PS4. The DLC got skipped.
Did not. Correct.
Yeah, okay. So he hasn't really had too many opportunities to say he's had a game developed under his tutelage, like that wasn't a sequel to something from a previous regime. So there's... Which is probably why he was pivoting so hard to like, hey, let's go full live service, and was like the Bungie stuff was coming out last week again, where he's like, yeah, I expect Bungie
my return on investment will be better than the Activision return on investment is pretty much what he said.
Yeah, it will make more than $70 billion. So it's wild stuff like that just doesn't equate, and I don't think jives too well with like what the traditional PlayStation wants in terms of they weren't interested in live service games. They wanted single player games. They're not against like online games, live service games, but the idea that PlayStation was going so hard in that direction was probably worrisome to people at PlayStation proper, like at the corporation, in terms of like, why are we going so hard in this other direction? Especially when you don't have that foundation already. That is a lot of R&D money. We talked about the research and development money going into live service games, and it was a lot of money going into that.
I mean, I guess for me, like, if you want to ask, like, if I asked you, like, what is Sean Layden's legacy? Or what was Sean Layden's legacy with Sony? With PlayStation?
He helped launch the PS4. So, like, he got the PS4 to, like, a big height, because that happened under him. So he gets credited with like being around for the PS4 launch and then it hitting the record numbers.
And arguably I feel like I agree with you, but I also feel like arguably a solid run of new intellectual property.
Yes, yeah. Even if not all of them hit, they did sell pretty well. Like Days Gone was in there, Spider-Man obviously was in there.
So then, what's Ryan's legacy?
That's the problem. His is the PS5 launch during the pandemic.
Correct.
So his legacy is he did really well with what he was given in terms of like steering the ship, in terms of getting that hardware out and getting it into people's hands. I don't think he has a software legacy, unfortunately.
Okay.
He now has the legacy of like, oh, he's the guy that made the 3-tier PS Plus thing that people don't really like. He's the one that pivoted Naughty Dog into a live service studio that never saw the fruition of things. Maybe you can say if these studios work out, he's the one that expanded PlayStation Studios significantly because all the acquisitions were made under him. But it's hard to give him credit for that if those studios haven't produced anything yet. It could be something in 10 years where like, damn, it was a good thing Jim Ryan signed Bungie, signed other studio name I'm forgetting that this hasn't produced content right now as we're speaking.
Yeah, so I mean that's the thing is like he, as much as I feel like I don't know if Matrick was in place when the 360 launched.
Middle.
Yeah, so Xbox 360 is considered arguably, along with PlayStation 3, are like head to head like equally selling consoles, and he fumbled the Xbox One and to where Spencer had to take over and has been trying to repair it ever since then. Yeah. Granted, he should have already fixed it by now, but that's neither here nor there.
But they lost so much ground is the problem.
Right, I agree. And then now Layden takes over in Ryan takes over in 2019, and I believe the PS5 comes out in 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
So realistically, he did not have a tremendous impact during those 12 months, at least on the development of the console itself. Maybe in terms of he had impact on the price and the marketing, and maybe making the decision maybe making the decision on digital only versus versus physical versus doing both at launch. Yes, I'm sure he had significant impact on those statements. But it's kind of like one of those things where again, I'm not trying to always equate stuff to sports, but Tom Brady left New England and won a championship in Tampa Bay. New England didn't do anything in the 2 years that Tom Brady was still in the league. So is it Tom Brady or is it New England? Now, is it Jim Ryan or is it PlayStation?
Yeah, and that's one of those things that's hard to like separate them when you have that.
Regardless, Jim Ryan was the president when the PS5 came out, therefore he gets credit for it.
Yes.
Tom Brady was the quarterback of the Bucs when they won the Super Bowl. They didn't win it without him. The Patriots haven't won without him since. So it's really hard to say, could they do it without him? I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
So it's hard to say. He was there when it happened. He gets credit for it. Sean Layden, I would argue that was, for me personally, like those press conferences, the PS4 press conferences are things that are going to be etched in my memory. Or it wasn't even Layden. It was Trenton. Jack
Trenton
right?
was the PS3 era, towards the end of PS3 era. He basically...
But he was on stage for the PS4. Like, he was the one that... Like, if you look up his Wikipedia, I feel like he's the one that's been diagnosed with the death of Xbox when he's doing the marketing with Adam Boyes and Shuhei about this is how you share your games on PlayStation 4, and they're handing it off.
I gotta look that up. E3...
Trenton was on stage.
I will look that up. But I'm pretty sure he was gone by...
Because I would argue then if that's the case, then I don't think Layden launched a console.
So Jack Trenton left in 2014. So that would have been PS...
So Layden did not launch a console. But I feel like Layden did a much better job of...
So Jack Trenton left before the console launched, but he, because console launched in November 2014, Jack Trenton left in the middle of 2014. So, he left right before...
So almost, almost very similar to when Ryan took over.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
but Jack Trenton gets the legacy of I saved PlayStation because the PS3 was going so horribly wrong under Phil Harrison.
Yeah, Trenton righted the ship, and Layden continued to feed coal into the ship and kept it going, and at a solid speed. And Jim Ryan did the same thing. Yeah,
but then Jim Ryan was changing the company to where we don't know what the future is. Like PlayStation
tried to make two ships.
Yeah, and that's going to be the ultimate question: is who do they get to replace him? I told Dave before recording, I think people are going to be very bothered that the replacement will probably be someone we've never heard of, because they've kind of gone through a ton of people. It could be Herman.
Well, I felt like
I don't.
Well, I felt like it was going to be Herman. It would be Herman in spring, like they said. They've already kind of said who's taking over in the interim basis. Like, why not give it to Herman then in 6 months?
Yeah, and it might be something that Herman doesn't want to be that high up, because then he's gonna.
Right.
It's just like
he sees that, hey, I can't touch as much. I'm already touching less now in this position as head of Worldwide Studios. Now you want me to make me the head of the brand? Like, that means I'm going to be touching even less. And I don't want that.
It's like when Shu kind of stepped down because he wanted to work more with indies. Because like Shu was like, I can't do the worldwide stuff. I love indies too much. So he kind of. It
has to be somebody from the inside, though.
Yeah, no, it's. Like, I think it's going to be.
No way they're going to bring somebody from the outside. No way.
And right now, because of how the press conferences have changed from like back then, like we knew Adam Boyes, we knew like John Drake. Like all these people during like Layden's era, because there was press conferences and you had people out there talking. Because of how the showcases, the state of plays have worked, we don't know faces and names anymore. So the next person's going to be someone we never heard of because we just haven't had that sort of interaction.
Yeah. And again, it's two different companies going two opposite directions. Like Phil Spencer is the face of Xbox. There is no current face of PlayStation.
Yeah.
There's not.
Jim Ryan tried to be that, and it just didn't work. It also doesn't help when the head of no one believes Jim Ryan played video games. Not that you need to play video games to run a company, but it definitely didn't help when he would put himself out there. As opposed to Phil Spencer, like people have run into him in Fallout 76 and shit. So like there's there's an aspect there where Phil Spencer makes sense. And if you look at Xbox, you can see like the next person up when you really look at that, because they put those people up front and center and we see names, but we don't currently see that.
Just like it was a big deal when Boyes left. Like when Boyes left Sony, that was a huge deal. I can't think of the other guy's name. He was like head of third party,
Gio Corsi and John Drake were like third party.
Yep. When Gio Corsi left, like that was a big deal. And it'll be similar to I can't think of, like if somebody directly underneath Spencer leaves, like that we've seen, if Tom or Pete Hines leaves,
Sarah Bond, Pete Hines,
that's her name,
Matthew Booty, like there's so many names at Xbox.
Yep. When or if they leave, then like that'll just be as big of a deal as it was when Adam Boyes left and Gio Corsi left and Drake left. So like those are all significant factors. But I want to be clear, like he did a phenomenal job. I am curious to see the direction of what direction Sony goes in the next 12 to 18 months. As we're getting near this stuff, like how much of it will be on peripherals and VR, like how much is this project, or what's it called, what's the portable thing called that comes out next month or
Portal.
November? I can't. Portal, like, is that Jim Ryan's baby? Is that going to see the support and the upgrades in the version 2.0 that it may or may not need? Are we going to see more development around VR?
And I was going to say, like, I would imagine we're going to see an increase in the VR stuff, because Jim Ryan never seemed really too passionate about that, but PlayStation as a company seemed passionate about it. So we might see
do we see the optional disk drive attachment we've heard rumors about? Do we see that go away, or do we see that get doubled down? There's a lot of unknown, and we won't really know. It's we were talking before we recorded, like he's been the president of Sony since he's been the president of Sony since DDG started. Yeah. So
we all three of us started around the same time. So we won't know who's going to take over until April, I believe, is when or Jim Ryan officially will be stepped down or pass the keys off to someone else. So we'll find out more like that. It'll be funny though if like fucking PlayStation's like, okay, so Bobby Kotick is no longer with Activision Blizzard, and they just bring that horrible man into PlayStation. But we'll see who they do. It's probably someone internal. I don't really know any names externally, unless they bring someone back, unless Jack Trenton wants to come back or Sean Layden wants to come back, but I doubt they go back. We'll follow this story as it develops. The next story I just put in here to break things up a little bit. EA Sports has traded Criterion Games to EA Entertainment. So Criterion is being moved. Dave, I don't know if you remember, I don't know if we covered this, but EA split off into two companies.
Yep.
So Criterion was on the EA Sports team because they make the racing games. Well, they have been traded over to EA Entertainment or EA proper because they are now just going to be working on a Battlefield franchise. So Criterion will work with DICE, Ripple Effect, and Ridgeline on Battlefield under Vince Zampella. Criterion apparently is still going to help and assist on Need for Speed, but they're not going to be in charge of Need for Speed going forward. So this is just EA kind of shuffling a little bit how they're going to do things. Of course, this got a lot of people upset that Criterion, the racing company, is going to be making Battlefield, but it sounds like EA is kind of desperate to save Battlefield, so it seems like all hands on deck to save Battlefield. Dave, do you think this is going to save Battlefield?
They've been with them since. Have they been with them since 2004?
Criterion? Yeah. The Burnout franchise has been around since PS2.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to think. I'm looking at like their Wikipedia's being a pain in the ass today for me.
Yeah.
So yeah. I was just looking at some of the other stuff that they work on. There's another studio that works on Madden, that has a name similar to this. I thought at first I got mixed up with it first until you started talking. I thought it was.
No.
It is a little weird that like as much racing arcade sims or arcade drivers that they've made over the last X amount of years that they would be doing this. However, they have been working on Battlefield 2042,
specifically the
Battlefield
driving.
5. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. So for them to like fully go into this, I mean, maybe this is that's kind of always been the thing that separated Battlefield from Call of Duty is the large maps and the vehicles and the movement and the helicopters and tanks and jeeps and all that crap. I don't know. I think some of these title moves and name things are to appease shareholders, like, ooh, look at what we're doing. This is what we're trying to do to react to this, and we're seeing this, and look how important this franchise is to us. We're adding these other studios to it. Like, you're the corporation. You tell people what to do. What difference does it make if you're moving the name of the studio? Is it really Criterion anymore? If all the people are like, I want to work on racing games, I don't want to work on shooters, and they're like, oh, you do what we tell you to do? Okay, I quit. It's not Criterion. It's just a name. So,
which a lot of major people from
BioWare anymore?
Yeah.
Like, is this going to be the Dragon Age that you're expecting, or no? This, if the same people don't work for the studio anymore that made the game, is it still Dragon Age? Like,
well, no, and that's the problem EA has had for like over a decade. Is like they haven't known what to do with studios. They've closed several studios down, and also people that ran some of these studios have left the studio. So like a lot of this stuff feels like they're just shuffling names around because Criterion has lost a lot of their major like founders and like head people when they got moved over to Battlefield. So this seems like an inevitable move, but they're kind of just carrying a Criterion name because they knows it has some cachet with some players.
Like I feel like Schreier said that there's only like 2 out of 100 people that worked on Dragon Age are still with BioWare.
And I think that number's a little off, but it's like it's not like it's not the original
the majority have left.
Yes, or
the
been
majority.
Let go.
I'm safe in saying that over 50%.
Yeah, it's probably like 3/4 to be honest.
Yeah. So I mean, like, and I'm just using that as an example because what comes to mind. I still remember we talked about it. Is this the Platinum Games A team or B team?
Yeah, and at this point, if there were
Rocksteady, is this Rocksteady South California, or is this Rocksteady Montreal?
Yeah, and that's a fair thing to say. But this kind of just shows you, just like EA is lost right now, like significantly lost as a company, and they're really. I don't know what EA's future is, to be completely honest. And this is just yet another move of just like a company that's desperate to like salvage the IPs that they already have because they don't have a lot of IPs, like bankable IPs, to work from. And they're just going to have to hope that like the amount of studios that they're putting into Battlefield, you have to hope Battlefield rights the ship, because the only other thing that they have is like Sports Club or Football Club. Now, which they just delisted all the FIFA games, which is kind of hilarious.
Oh, they have Madden, they have NHL,
but that's why it almost feels like they're preparing to like be like, we're just EA Sports. EA Entertainment's its own thing that has its own loss losses and gains.
Yeah. Look how well our sports division is doing. Yeah. What about your shooter division? Yeah, we don't want to talk about that right now. Look at sports over here.
Yeah. Also, in a couple years, like, EA Entertainment doesn't exist. It's just EA Sports. Like they just double down on like what's successful for them. We see this companies do this all the time.
Shooting's a sport. It's okay.
Yeah. Skeet shooting. That's what Battlefield turns into. Is this a skeet shooter? But EA it definitely seems like a lost franchise. Like if those Marvel games don't hit for them, like I could almost see EA Entertainment or whatever it's called kind of quietly disappearing, and they just become EA Sports.
Just as long as you bring back the EA Sports, that's all I care about.
I think it's still there. I'm pretty sure it's still there.
I don't know. I saw Madden on sale for like $20, and I thought about it for about 3.5 seconds, and I'm like, nah.
You're like, I'm not gonna put the time. Just wait for it to go on Game Pass in like 6 months. It would be one of those things where I could see EA Sports kind of expanding, like if they bring the EA Sports big franchise or umbrella back and do some more arcadey games, that would work for them. Maybe they go after some other licenses for other sports. The UFC game apparently came out like out of nowhere. Which just seems like poor planning on them, because like I didn't even know it existed until they were like, it comes out next week or next month. And it's
they don't have the WWE, they don't do WWE stuff, do they? That's 2K,
That's
right?
2K, yeah.
Okay.
And AEW has THQ, sadly.
Okay.
But you can see like EA maybe making a play for that, of just like, hey, we have more money than what THQ does. So to expand EA Sports, I could see them starting to look outside of that.
Especially with Embracer Group and a fire sale.
But I wonder if EA is just like hoping that like Nintendo releases like another Wii, so they could just like throw out some sports shovelwares and try and cash in or something. Because they need
NBA Street 4 with Waggle.
Sure, let's go. Or like I don't know what EA is going to do in the future, but apparently Criterion's making Battlefield games, and who knows when the next Battlefield's going to be out, since they reshuffled studios starting last year, or earlier this year. I kind of forget. All right, Dave. We didn't.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So we missed this last week because last week was just kind of a tough week to record. But we're not going to talk about the PlayStation hacking, because that one's still like up in the air, what's going on there. And also Jim Ryan stuff kind of covered that up pretty well. But Xbox had a funny leak, because Microsoft's legal team accidentally attached confidential files to the public record for their court case against the FTC.
Somebody got fired, by the way.
Someone must have.
Somewhere. Yeah. Someone somewhere.
Yeah. The public record, you could look up the case. Well, you could have looked up the case on FTC's website and downloaded files to look through it. You'll see stuff redacted. But someone on Microsoft's legal team accidentally attached a PDF file that had dozens, if not hundreds, of slideshow presentations and roadmaps for the future of Xbox up until 2028. So there's a lot of stuff to kind of decipher in this. Some of the highlights include a new controller coming out next year for the Xbox that's going to include haptics, and also lift to wake feature, which I think is really exciting. And then
I care more about that than I do about haptics.
Yep. And then also a rechargeable battery.
I'm sorry, haptics are a gimmick that people think are cool, and then they get annoying, or you forget about them after 2 hours of playing your game.
I still like the Rumble, but I haven't seen anything cool done with them in a while. But rechargeable battery also. This controller is going to be packed with new Xboxes sometime next year, and also be sold standalone. It looks kind of ugly. You can see the picture online. But yeah, I think the lift to wake feature is like probably the coolest thing. It's something I like, even though you can hit the button and it'll turn on. I just like the idea of picking up a controller and then just turning on the console.
It's one of those things where you like, I mean, we don't have it, so we don't know how we're going to feel it until we do have it, but it's kind of one of those things where like, I don't really like my Samsung Galaxy phone just can read my face now. I don't have to swipe on it. I don't have to put my fingerprint on it. I just like I click my lock screen and I look at it and it just unlocks.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nice.
And I know people are going to be like,
if I come home and I sit on my couch, sit on my couch and grab my controller with one hand while I have my phone in my other hand, or I have a drink in my other hand, and then my Xbox just turns on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Without pressing a button. And I know it sounds silly. People are going to be like, you can just press the fucking button. It's like, yes, you can, but you can also lift the controller up. Like, it won't take that feature away.
You can also change a disc in your console, but what kind of dinosaur does that?
Yes. A big thing also revealed is next year they will be releasing a diskless Xbox Series X with a 2 terabyte drive and Wi-Fi 6, and it'll come with the new controller sometime next year for $499, so no price increase. They're just removing the disk drive and doubling the space, which Xbox desperately needs, especially for Game Pass.
Yeah, I love this idea also because Game Pass is their focus, whether you like it or don't like it, and if you want to buy something, you can buy it digitally, and hopefully it downloads faster because I believe my ROG Ally supports Wi-Fi 6,
and your PS5
I think
does.
my little and then now that I have much better internet, I see a substantial difference in general.
Yeah.
So,
and I definitely notice my PS5 downloads way faster than my Xbox. And I don't know if that's equated to Wi-Fi 6 or not, but it's just anecdotal thing I can do. The Series S will also see a refresh with a terabyte drive and Wi-Fi 6.
we've already seen that.
Well, technically not with Wi-Fi 6.
Okay.
So then the one coming out next year will have Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah. And the new controller.
So that's coming. There were several mentions through the various slideshows talking about a sub $99 streaming device. So this could be the thing that they had shelved last year.
Yeah, I mean we've seen this before, like a Game Pass puck.
Yes, and it seems like that is like we heard about it being shelved, but it sounds like it's more likely coming back because it was mentioned several times in the slides, and also a possible handheld from Microsoft because there were mentions of a handheld device as well from Microsoft as well. But that also could have been them just being like, there's a lot of handhelds on the market right now, PC handhelds for Game Pass. But it did seem something that Microsoft is very interested in is like a handheld.
I can totally see them doing something with this new controller, like the PlayStation Portal.
Yes.
Like I don't see why not.
Especially just streaming, it's a no brainer. And also probably the biggest thing, Xbox.
However, I'm sorry, if you have Game Pass Ultimate, the difference is whatever this handheld is will work outside of your Wi-Fi network.
That's what I mean. Yeah, like 100%.
Yeah. The Portal won't.
Yeah, exactly. It would be a dedicated streaming thing. So as long as you can connect that thing to the internet, you can stream, and you won't need another console at home. It would just be a streaming from Xbox Cloud. And then also probably the biggest thing, Xbox expects their next gen console to come out sometime in 2028. Or like that's the window they're aiming for, which would make sense. 8 years into the generation.
An 8-year window. Yeah, that's fine.
So Dave, I don't know if there's much to add to this. We talked about stuff as we were going, but like, an 8-year window makes sense, right? Because that was the thing people.
Nothing on here is a surprise.
Yeah, except maybe like the new controller, because like they.
Yeah, but I feel like they've always kind of done mid-console generation controller updates.
Not this significant, because this is like, hey, we're replacing all the controllers with something brand new.
Yeah. Okay. So let me ask you then, like, is Hellblade 2 going to support this?
Does Hellblade 2 coming to fuck out? I would imagine if it's actually coming out. Is
Avowed going to support this?
I would imagine if it is coming out next year, you will see a lot of support from this from first-party studios.
So that means next time we really hear from Microsoft, though, they have to lead with this controller, essentially at their conference. They have to lead with this. They have to announce this controller, and then talk about games that are going to take advantage of the controller.
Yeah, but I also think because the PS5 has haptics and the Nintendo basically has their version of haptics, that there's not much they have to explain other than like, we can do it too, because everyone knows how they work and how cool it can be for like whatever, like.
Yeah, I mean, people can laugh and point and be like, oh, look at them copying Sony. Well, Sony copied them with the different tiers of subscription.
Yeah, no, all these companies copy each other. Everyone copied Nintendo for PlayStation Move and Kinect, so it happens. If you have a good idea, your competitors will try and mimic that idea.
Yep.
And I hope the lift to wake, because so basically the thing that's going to cause the lift to wakes is the gyros, and the PS5 controller already has gyros, so the PlayStation just needs to figure out the firmware update to get that to work.
Yeah, they can turn my beep off on my PlayStation. They should be able to turn my controller on by lifting it.
Yes, even if it means your controller is like at a like standby battery level or something, they can figure that out. But yeah, those are the hardware stuff.
I saw a tweet today that said Jim Ryan's tenure lasted about as long as a DualSense charge.
I saw another joke that said Jim Ryan's gonna announce that he's working for the CMA in a month. But yeah, so that's all the hardware news that came from that. There's a ton more. Microsoft had the FTC take down the files, but that didn't stop people from downloading them. So if you want to see the files, I think Destin is his name on YouTube.
Yeah.
He had multiple good videos running through this stuff. So we'll talk about some of the
Destin Legary of IGN has his own independent YouTube channel.
Yeah, and
he actually does an amazing job as a solo content creator covering things similar to what you and I cover.
Yeah. So definitely check him out, especially he goes slide by slide in multiple videos. There was a good chunk of software stuff that was revealed, and this is basically the slides related to software were basically what Microsoft expected from Bethesda based on what Bethesda was working on when they took over Bethesda. So this is technically info from 2021 when they closed the deal on Bethesda. Microsoft expected Indiana Jones to release fiscal year in 2022, which would have ended September 2022. Let's go with that one first, Dave. So that means Indiana Jones is further along than like we thought potentially. If Bethesda was aiming for 2022. COVID, yes. Yeah, it's a combination of COVID and also...
I agree, but yeah. Well, everybody's like, why'd you spend $70 billion or $7 billion? Sorry, I'm getting them confused with Activision. My apologies.
7 billion or 9 billion, whatever.
7, yeah. Yeah, so why would you spend, $7 billion? Well, we were told that all this stuff would be ready or announced by now.
Yeah. And Indiana Jones, it also could have been a thing where like Microsoft's like, we don't want a buggy Bethesda experience, so like let's slow it down. You have more money now. Let's do this. Well,
it was fascinating that we didn't really hear about this until after it would have already been out.
Yeah, and that's what
we didn't hear about the game at all.
Yeah. So that's what a lot of this stuff is basically going to be. There was something called Project Kestrel, which was supposed to release in 2023 with an expansion 2024. A lot of people are saying this was Starfield when they acquired them because this kind of lines up.
When did they say Starfield, though? Like, when did Bethesda say? I'd have to see when they officially announced Starfield. Starfield was named before, like several years before that, but like this is the only thing that kind of lines up with that. It could be another delayed thing. I agree. However, my only problem with it is that based on this calendar, Starfield is probably 2019.
Yeah. So that's Project Hesto. It could be something new, or it could have been Starfield. Apparently, an Oblivion remaster was supposed to come out fiscal year 2022. That hasn't been announced or revealed. This could have been a thing that Bethesda was planning to work on, already was working on, and we just don't know the fate of it. Same thing for Fallout 3. A remaster was being worked on, and it was supposed to come out fiscal year 2023. No word on that. Obviously, we got 3 months left in the year.
I could see both of these games getting the Hi-Fi Rush treatment, though.
I think so too. I think this would be like a good 1-2 punch at like next year's whatever E3 is.
Yeah, or one of these is like shown at Game Awards and be like, download it tomorrow.
Yeah. And it wouldn't take a lot of work to... Well, Oblivion would probably take a significant amount of work to remaster, but Fallout 3 seems very doable.
Right.
This one I think is canceled. Ghostwire Tokyo 2 for 2024.
I agree.
Ghostwire Tokyo just didn't review well, so I would probably safe to say this is probably canceled. Dishonored 3 in 2024. I think this is definitely possible, especially after, they cleared Redfall, they cleared Deathloop.
Yeah. I think a lot of this has to do with if we see this or don't see this, I truly think this has to do with engagement of Dishonored franchise on Game Pass.
Yeah, because like Microsoft said, like, here is the slate that Bethesda gave us after we acquired them, and this slide was for basically Microsoft to greenlight if they should continue or not.
Yeah.
And so like
here's the numbers for the Dishonored franchise since it went on Game Pass. It's time to make a third one. Or hey, we put them all on there and nobody's playing them. Like, why are we going to make a third one?
Well, no, and a lot of this stuff was before the Game Pass stuff even, happened. So it's literally like, if you look at these slides, it's like the Dishonored franchise has sold 10 million or whatever, how many millions of copies. So this was all stuff that Bethesda was presenting to Microsoft. And Microsoft basically had to decide, like, continue the green light these or wait and see. So Dishonored 3 2024, I think that's still possible because it seems like something that you could probably do, especially they kind of need a win after Redfall. Doom Year Zero was slated for 2023 plus DLC in 2024. I think Doom's safe. You'll probably see it. The fact that it even had a proper name as opposed to, this like generic name, Doom Year Zero 2023. Obviously it's not happening this year. It could have been one of those ones that they're like, hey, COVID or take your time.
Let's get it right. So
yeah. So that's some pretty interesting stuff that was in all those leaks. Some of this does make me excited. You know, obviously I've been playing Fallout 3, or I played it a couple weeks ago. Indiana Jones being like slated for 2022 makes me hopeful that it isn't like a 2025 game or something. It makes me think that we could see it next year.
Well, I hope it's a 10 to 12 hour linear experience, and that could make it more realistic for next year. If they try to open world Batman Arkham City this thing, like, I don't know if I want that.
Yeah, I want an Uncharted clone. Like that's kind of all I need from that. And then
Uncharted is an Indiana Jones clone.
It's a Tomb Raider clone, and Tomb Raider's a Indiana Jones clone. So it keeps going. So yeah, this is just all the stuff that basically Bethesda presented to them, and I feel like a good chunk of this is stuff that is probably works continued on, except for Ghostwire Tokyo.
So I have a question then. So we see, I don't even know, one here, half a dozen games. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. 7 games on here that equated to possibly $7 to $9 billion purchases, along with, you know, gaining the publishing rights and the intellectual properties of what go with it. Okay, cool. What the fuck did Activision show them?
Call of Duty and Candy Crush. Like, literally, that, like, they just wanted the mobile stuff. Like, I think.
But there's got to be, like, come on, Activision has to have a roadmap, like a 5-year map that they showed them too, though, right?
Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty, Call of Duty. Mobile game.
There has to be another Sekiro in there or something, right?
No. 100%. I think it's just Call of Duty in the mobile games market, because people underestimate how much the mobile game market makes.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I get it. Candy Crush. Yeah. I'm fine. You know, I get that. But I don't know. So
because even if you look at Activision's backlog outside of Call of Duty,
what did Bungie show them then, other than Marathon? Bungie had to show Sony something other than Marathon.
Bungie was just like, hey, 6 years ago we knew how to do live service games. like 6 years ago we were good at microtransactions.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah. That was the thing. Destin did a video about like the state of Destiny, and I watched that, and I'm just like, I didn't know the microtransactions in Destiny kind of got shitty.
They're not that bad.
They're not that bad, but I don't know if they're
not great, but they're not that bad. Like,
but it definitely is one of those things where it's just like, you're trusting this company to like run like the ideas of all.
That's like, so we had Outbreak Day or whatever. So the day that the spores virus broke out in Last of Us, you know, it was 2 days ago or whatever, September something. And you know, Naughty Dog had to come out and say, hey, we're not talking about anything. It's getting scary. Like, this is getting really scary. Like, I'm really genuinely starting to believe that they flew Bungie to Naughty Dog, and Naughty Dog got to sit down and present it to them, and the 6 Bungie employees like bust out laughing.
No, and that's a possibility, but it's also at the same time.
And they're like, okay, we got to start over. Like, I'm not saying you got to start over with like the third person function and the look, but they're like, homie, your loot system ain't gonna cut it, bro.
Well, no, or it also possibly turned into a thing where they're like, okay, this can't be a free to play game anymore. This needs to be like a $60 box product, which means get some people into mocap studio right now, make some cutscenes. Like, we need to pivot significantly.
So that's my biggest fear, is that like they, you know, Naughty Dog came in there, whether it was Druckmann or whoever his head of you know, not content creation, but factions, you know, loot driven stuff is like, here, this is how I get these people, and Bungie's going, no, bro, no, not that either, no.
Yeah.
And somebody's like, you just took out my bottom Jenga block. He's like, yeah. At least you didn't release it.
But then that also can start turmoil when like they look at like Destiny's current state for like microtransaction stuff, and they're just like, are we really going to listen?
I'm not even talking about microtransactions. I'm just talking about the incentive for somebody to play factions 4 times a month.
No. But
log in every day or log in every week.
But you know, like, microtransactions and like the revenue stream is very important, and that's the real reason they hired Bungie. They didn't hire Bungie to make the game better. They hired Bungie to like make more money for the live service stuff.
But they also hired Bungie because whether you like it or don't like it, they've got a way to get you to get that dopamine, whether it's a microtransaction or just logging into the game and playing every, you know, even if it's only every 90 days.
And it's one of those things where I wonder of just like, are we? My thinking with Bungie, which I think we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years, is I wonder if it's a thing of just like, you know how like when a sports player gets a contract and the contract is to reward their past work and not their future
Yeah.
work.
I'm not disputing that, but whether we like it or don't like it, on the console market, Bungie started establishing daily resets,
And you have to hope
weekly
that they can
sign-in,
continue
weekly
that.
changes. Correct.
And that's the question
Like,
mark I have.
Yeah, they established something. Now, can they teach Naughty Dog how to do it as well? Now, you could argue that yes, that like Halo had the multiplayer function, but they had the epic campaigns that players wanted. The epic single player campaigns. Halo, like even though I didn't play them, like people love them. Now, since Bungie has stopped touching Halo, the multiplayer is not good, and the campaigns are not good.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, again, going all the way back, Destiny had our Bungie has the up-down theory going with Destiny. Year 1 is bad, year 2 is great, year 3 is bad, year 4 is great. Like they go this up and down ebb and flow thing of, it's just so it's and I don't know, but the longer they stop and don't talk, the more opportunities they miss to talk about factions, the more concerned I get.
Yeah, and that's completely valid. Like, I'm concerned. Like, if it's not at the Game Awards and has a big reveal, then I'm up completely like, this game's fucked.
Yeah.
Game Awards is like their next thing.
Or if we see like Uncharted 2 remastered from Naughty Dog, like, oh crap, like it's bad.
Yeah.
Where they're like, can you guys please get something out in the next?
Yeah, then if they're like, hey, we remade Jak and Daxter from the ground up, then it's gonna be like, wait, you guys did that? Now Blue Point? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah,
yeah. But yeah, no. Sorry for Bungie tangent. But.
Yeah, all right. So I'm gonna ask because I'm afraid somebody's gonna ask. I mean, and full disclosure, Michael builds the agenda. I let him do his thing, and he feeds me the agenda, and we conversate. I look at it, if you're lucky, 2 hours before I record.
Yeah.
Nothing in here about them trying to buy Nintendo?
No, because we heard reports that they were considering it, but like even when you look at the Phil Spencer email stuff regarding that, which was also in the leaks, he knew like it wasn't possible. There was some comments of like this would have been a great thing for Nintendo and us, and it's like, dude, Nintendo was never going to sell you.
I see. Here's my position on it. I think Microsoft proper, because they also subsidize the cost of the consoles. That's not new. Sony does it too. I think Microsoft said you have $100 billion. I think
clearly with that, especially with Activision Blizzard,
right?
They're like,
yeah. I think that they said you had $100 billion, and maybe Spencer said something about like, hey, do you think we can get Nintendo for $100 billion? Like, like it's $100 billion. Like, if you don't think that somebody at Nintendo or at Amazon ever, like, if you don't think Bezos thinks about trying to buy Apple,
I mean, Apple's considering buying Disney recently, so it's like this happens.
So I tweeted this out last week, like, none of this we should have ever seen. None of it.
No, this was all supposed to be internal. Someone fucked up.
This is this is not for public consumption. This is not this is a leak, but this is not your typical leak. This is bad for the industry to see Phil Spencer thinking that he's having a conversation with somebody that's never going to go public.
Yeah,
it's
like spitballing. And it's literally like the emails about Nintendo was just like, let's make an offer in Nintendo. Okay, I made an offer. It didn't work. Fuck it. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
Nintendo probably gets an offer every day from like Tencent or something like that. Like,
well, contrary to popular belief, Nintendo's more than just video games.
Yeah. Which is why you bought
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's interesting, and the concept that Microsoft's trying to gobble up the whole industry, like, no, they're not. I think it's just one of those things where, there was also a report of like how much it cost, like how much companies told Microsoft it would cost for stuff to go on Game Pass. And some of those numbers are crazy, but again, if you do the math a different way, I could make the case for it, but I can make numbers work against my case or for my case too. But people just don't forget, like, Microsoft's the #1 corporation in the world.
Yeah.
I think
top 3 at least. Like Amazon might be below them right now.
Yeah. So they make a ton of money off Adobe. They make a ton of money off Windows. They make like just in general. And is it bad for gaming for big corporations to continue to gobble up the industry? Yeah, maybe. But we're already seeing struggles with Embracer doing it. I I think people forget how, Walmart and Sam's Club are the same company, same parent company. I think people forget a lot about that stuff.
Well, the movie industry is only
Amazon
run by
owns a
5
ton
companies.
of stuff. Yeah, Amazon owns a ton of stuff. Google owns a ton of stuff. And it's just kind of it's just kind of the way of the world. If these things are successful, then there's things that I could tell you, like, if you have a Ring doorbell on your front door, you're supporting Bezos. Some people don't realize that Amazon owns Ring.
They're just like they were on Shark Tank. It's like, and then they were purchased by Amazon.
Right. So I think there's a lot of things that people would be surprised about. I think if you got the same documents from other companies, I think you'd be flabbergasted what's in those documents.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, Disney bought Fox somehow. Would that this happens?
Just recently watching the Disney Corporation and Spectrum fight. And hearing about like how many people, how much Spectrum owns, or in Spectrum and Charter and all this stuff, and how many households they're in, and what they hold control over, and all that stuff. It's crazy. Or like Hulu, and I mean, you're seeing it now. Like thank God the writer's strike came to an agreement, but we're still 6 months behind schedule.
And the
minimum.
Actors aren't off strike either. So.
Right. Yeah, so we're still behind on schedule, and I live in Metro Detroit, like I mentioned earlier, and the auto industry's on strike right now. So it's like you drive a car that's made by either 3 U.S. companies or 2 foreign companies. Like, that's just the way of the world.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if you think that the president of Ford hasn't thought about calling GM and saying how much. Like, I'm sorry, you might get laughed at, or you might say some stupid number, which I think Activision said a stupid number, and Phil Spencer's like, cool, I can do that. And he's like, wait, what? So same thing with, he's talking to Bethesda, whatever, whether he's scared about Starfield or not scared about Starfield, like, how much? And somebody, and Tim Hines is like, what are you talking about? And Spencer's like, how much?
Well,
like,
especially
write a number down on a napkin, and he gives it to Spencer. He's like, okay,
yeah,
let's make a deal.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where people say in just everyday life, like, the worst thing they can say is no. Especially when you're behind a big corporation, you have the money.
Hell, PR has told us that.
Yeah,
ask it.
Yeah, just ask.
The worst I'll tell you is I can't.
Yeah, I mean, don't be mad.
Best I'll tell you is yeah.
Yeah. So like especially when you're Microsoft, of just like, I guarantee, even if like Microsoft's like, you have $50 billion to play with, and then he's like, I offer Nintendo $50 billion, they said they'll do it for 100, Microsoft would be like, okay, yeah, let's fucking do it. Like they wouldn't like hesitate to like up whatever offer, though there would be problems in terms of like, I don't know if Japan as a country would let Nintendo sell, but it would, at a certain point, it wouldn't matter, but there would be a fight for that.
Right. And again, this doesn't, like, I feel like any of these acquisitions, like, I'll say the same thing, like, this shouldn't affect Sony, like, them purchasing Bungie shouldn't affect Sony's profits. Like, they used their profits from the previous years to pay for this. Microsoft has used their profits as a corporation, not as Xbox, but as a corporation to pay for the to pay for the Bethesda purchase and to pay for the Activision.
And there's also
purchase.
crazy things
like,
you can do with debts too. So like, there's ways
move money around and everything like that. Yeah. So, but
that's how you see companies
go
away, is when they move debts around. It's just like, we're just going to drop all of our debt into this company, and then the company's going to go away.
Bed Bath and Beyond.
Yeah. Toys R Us. Twice. But yeah, that's all the news.
Okay. So amongst all of this, over the last 10 or 12 days, to our knowledge, nothing has been delayed. And then playing and watching, I have not played anything.
We took a week off, Dave. Come on.
I have scouts. I have softball. I have. We're trying to go to Cedar Point as much as we can before the end of the season. I have a child. I got kids, bro.
Dave, I had to go to 2 after work social things last week.
And that's the only 2 things you have to do for the next 54 weeks.
I don't know, man. I'm a lot of pressure at work.
But no, I mean, there's really no particular reason. I sunk a significant amount of time into Sea of Stars, and I kind of just took a little bit of a break. Bungie's, I've been playing a little bit of Destiny here and there, but the Destiny 2 has been getting DDoSed for like the last 12 days, 14 days. To where like the game is like unplayable, like where they came out and said it's DDoS, and also like something broke in crafting mechanics in the game, and some guns were busted, like auto rifles shooting grenade bullets. It was pretty nuts. But work's been a little crazy, coming out of inventory, and then my sleep schedule was broken for a little while, so I was kind of just down. And the next game that I wanted to play, Payday, sounds like it's a hot fucking mess.
THQ Nordic, man.
Thank God I have Game Pass and I didn't buy Payday. Because I'm sorry if I know a guy in our community bought Payday, man. I'm friends with him on Facebook, and he's going nuts. And then Sony won't give him a refund because he's over 14 days from the day to purchase, and he's downloaded it. Yep. So it's bad, and I haven't even looked at it. So I've got to check some of that stuff out, and I'm also this is end of September, end of October is rough. I mean, Owen wants Spider-Man. I want Spider-Man. Super Mario Wonder comes out on the same day. Owen wants that. I'll like to play that with Owen. And
it's not even a financial thing; it's a time thing.
Yep. So and then 6 weeks later, it's like Christmas shopping and Thanksgiving and stuff, and there's a lot going on, man. So amidst the writer strike, like we talked about, Angela and I have decided, and we've been watching it. I'm going to get the names wrong. If she's still awake, she'll throw them in chat or whatever. But we have gone back and decided to rewatch. I think there's 8 seasons of it, but Burn Notice.
Okay.
It was a show that was on USA. It's on Hulu. Now it's about a spy that's been blacklisted by the CIA or whatever, and he spends all of his time in getting it back up, trying to work through his being burned. I think it's a phenomenal show. Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal show. I think it wrapped up really well. I remember bits and pieces how it wrapped up, but again, it's something that her and I are having on, and I can be putzing on my phone, and we can be watching something together, having a conversation while still watching the show, since we know the gist of what's going on. I'll tell you what, man, the camera work in 2012 was ugly.
Oh yeah, especially specifically USA shows. That was a USA show.
Yeah.
All Royal Pains looked terrible. Trying to think of other USA shows, but Suits, terrible camera work, all that. That's why I couldn't watch a lot of USA stuff. Suits has been doing really well on
Netflix lately. Yeah, Suits has been doing really well on Netflix lately. So yeah, that's kind of I'm kind of we're just kind of in the Burn Notice mode. I was like, hey, I record in 40 minutes. Do you want to start watching an episode of Burn Notice? We'll pause it. We'll finish it tomorrow. That's kind of how we feel with it. We can watch 30 minutes, pause it, watch the rest of the episode, be okay. So it's just. She's got a bunch of reading and schoolwork that she's been doing. So, but yeah, it's a month until it gets kind of crazy. So I got to find something to plug that with. I was hoping Payday would be that. I'm hoping maybe Payday becomes playable shortly.
Hopefully there's an audience there once it does become playable.
Yeah. So, but I'm not going to feel terrible if it's not, because it's on my Game Pass.
Yeah.
So.
For me, because last week was a bunch of work-related stuff, I didn't get a ton of time with Starfield I wanted, but I have been playing Starfield here and there. I think the one problem I'm having with Starfield, it is a Bethesda game, I like Bethesda-style games, is I almost think it might be too big for its own good. And what I mean is, when you play a Fallout, you play a Elder Scrolls game, it's an open world. There are buildings you go into, caves, dungeons you go into, and it's fine, one load screen. But when you have multiple different planets, you have different things inside the planets, it does feel like in order to do stuff and explore, you are having to do a lot of load screens, and just bouncing between areas just takes a lot longer. So there's a disconnect that I'm currently having with it in terms of just I really want to explore, but exploring takes too damn long. Because there's you run around the planet, go through different buildings.
It's a lot of work, bro.
It feels like it. And then you hop in your ship, and then you move off to another planet, another area, and it just feels I don't know. I
have a friend of mine that's on his 3rd New Game Plus in that.
Yeah, and I feel it's just one of those things where
he won't tell me because he's afraid that I'm eventually going to play it, but there's some kind of hook when you complete something to do it again, and then to do it again, to do multiple New Game Pluses.
Yeah. There's always.
I haven't played Fallouts, so I don't know.
The New Game Plus loop can be deadly for some people, and it's one of those things where even though this isn't a franchise, I still consider it a franchise because it plays other Bethesda games. It's definitely one of those instances where I'm does the franchise or this style of game just outgrow me? in terms of what I want, which is why I was able to go back to Fallout 3 and finish that relatively quickly. And didn't even feel like I put the 30 hours that I put into it.
Yeah.
I'm feeling every hour I'm putting into Starfield, and that's kind of turning me off. And the thing that also, I guess maybe this is, I have ADD now, F-Zero 99 is hitting way harder for me than Starfield is. And
dude, just the music, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't even know if I can download it, but I feel like I just want to download it and like when I'm working around the house, and just play the.
You have the music. You have several different like F-Zero like inspired tracks, and I just enjoy it. I haven't won a game, but it hasn't stopped me.
Everyone.
No, like I barely finish in the top 20 most of the time. But races don't take too long. And it's just kind of a fun like gameplay loop. You know, you have the tracks, you do damage to other cars. You pick up like gold bits as you like pick up from other cars, either by damage or damage you get from other cars. And then once you fill up your meter, you get like your own little rainbow bridge sort of thing that's above the track, so you can like shortcut through things. And that loop is just really fun. And I think it helps that, you know, matches or races don't take too long. It's like maybe like 2 minutes a race. And because it's a Nintendo 99 game, they were consistently getting games. You don't have to wait too long. And they do have like the Grand Prix mode, which is like a best of 5 race that if you know, like you don't finish in the top 80 in race 1, you're not going to make it into race 2. And then, you know, it keeps cutting down that way.
It's phenomenal to me how many people have this Nintendo Online membership for Tetris 99, for F-Zero 99.
That's basically what mine is for, because I was addicted to Tetris 99. Like, all their 99 games have been really good. So, and I think this one, like, I believe they did Tetris 99, they did, like, the Mario 99. I think the Mario 99 one went away. But Tetris 99 is still around because it's so popular.
I feel like there was a Bomberman something for a little while, but I think that went away too.
No, that was like a F-Zero. That's a separate Bomberman R.
Okay.
But yeah, like, this one will probably stick around, like Tetris 99 did, because it's really addictive, and I could see it being really popular. To where it's just, I mean, F-Zero games have always been good. Like you talked about, the soundtrack is always fantastic. The art style never dies. Like that art style is fantastic. And then you can,
dude, that could hold up now. They could release F-Zero now and it hold up fine.
I'm waiting for them now to be like, give me Mario Kart 99 now.
Yeah.
Like, just do that somehow, some way. I don't care which Mario Kart it is. It could be the SNES Mario Kart for all I care.
Hell, Excite Bike 99.
Yeah,
like, you know,
there's a lot they can do with this. And
that Donkey Kong versus Mario remake looks great too. Like,
the little puzzle
I'm
game,
sorry, like, like, it reminds me of like Captain Toad's Adventures, but Donkey Kong versus Mario.
Yeah. So like, it's one of those things. Nintendo is so damn good at it, to where it's just like, I look at Starfield, tens of millions of dollars, if not hundreds of $1 million went into making that game, and then F-Zero is taking up my time more, and I'm more entertained by that.
Well, everybody kind of freaked out when like Nintendo's like, oh, we're gonna test this mobile thing a little bit, and they put the damn mobile games on their Switch.
Yeah, because
said, give me, and they put the mobile games on their Switch and said, you know what? Instead of you just buying a mobile game like Frogger for $4 or $2, you're gonna give us $30
a year to subscribe.
A year to play this, and you're gonna like it.
Yeah,
because like right now, watch, Michael's Nintendo Online worth $30 a year to you.
Yeah, I think it's paid for itself this year based off the F-Zero 99. Yeah.
And the fact that you can find games, and it's only available to Nintendo Online subscribers. You can't buy this game.
And on the base tier, too. Not the higher tiers. It's on the base tier.
Yeah. The fact of it, we'll never hear the number from Nintendo. But, like, their online service is fine.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure people, like, resubscribed because of F-Zero 99.
Healthy and fine.
Yeah. And it's at a good price point.
I want that Super Nintendo controller that's been out for 2 years. I didn't know about it until they said F-Zero existed.
Yeah, they keep going in stock. They've been in and out of stock for like 2 years. So you might want to get it.
I want one.
Yeah. And then the other thing I've been doing, I've been messing with my PS3 again. I'm getting trophies that like I never got. So when I get bored, it's over here. Like my PS3, it's right here, dude. Only Dave could see it for a second. But yeah, no, I've been playing like The Last Guy. I forgot how crazy hard those trophies were.
Whip your phone out and take pictures every time you earn a trophy and tweet them.
I would have to because there's no share. So yeah, I've been playing some PS3 stuff from time. I have one trophy in Infamous 2 that I never got, which is beat the game on hardcore mode. Which I know I beat the game on hardcore mode, but the trophy never unlocked. So I got to do a hardcore run of Infamous 2.
How long is that game? I don't even remember. 15?
Yeah, 12 to 15. Okay. I think if you don't care about side quests, you can finish it in like 8. So
okay.
All I need to do is hit end credits with hardcore mode. So like,
okay,
it might be a weekend project for me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna jump into our questions. He put the bat signal out for some questions. We got a couple of them. One I'm gonna have a little fun with Michael with, but So I think this one. I think you cut the name off on this one. I think this is Robert Cartwright.
Yes, it is.
What is Michael's current favorite sandwich? I'm curious about this because you actually go outside and go to work now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I went outside for work at my other job too.
I know. Yeah.
So right now, Pop.
Yeah, but okay, you go outside and go to work, and when you go on lunch, you have your lunch. I think around the same time every day. So it's not dictated by if it's busy or if it's slow or if you have enough coverage or don't have enough coverage.
It's whenever I want to, basically.
Okay. When you go on lunch, because you're not really in retail anymore, you don't have this. I don't want to talk to another customer service representative. In any field.
Mobile order is a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yes.
So currently, my favorite sandwich is the Potbelly Wreck sandwich or the Potbelly pizza sandwich. Both really good.
Okay.
If you wanted to know what's on the Rex sandwich, I don't know. It just has a lot of meat on it. Various meats are on there.
And how close is said Potbelly to Office?
I don't want to give away that information, but really fucking close.
Okay.
So super close.
There's a lot of Potbellies for the record, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
5-minute walk?
Yeah. 5-minute walk. So it's one of those things where I'm just like, it's so easy to order. I like 10 minutes before I know I'm going to lunch, I'm ordering that sandwich, so it's ready for me, and I don't have to interact with anybody. So yeah,
walk in, sitting on a shelf with the name on it, walk out.
Yeah, and if it's not there, I'm just like, son of a bitch. Like, so yeah, the Rex sandwich. I couldn't tell you what's on it. I just know there's a bunch of meat on it. Extra mayo, lettuce, tomato.
You're a bougie orderer for sandwiches. You can't just order it like it's stock. You have to make changes and customize.
Potbelly's weird. Like, you do have to add your toppings to it.
Oh, really? Yeah, okay. Yeah. I haven't placed an order before. I usually just go there and order it. The rare times that we do. There's like three Potbellies around us.
Yeah, so. Potbelly actually, when you ask for the sandwich, you go to the other part and they ask what your toppings are.
I feel like for me, like just in general, like it's my go-to when I do want a sandwich is kind of turned into Jersey Mike's from a price standpoint.
There's a lot more Jersey Mike's
standpoint.
Popped up around my neighborhood and also by work.
Okay.
So I might be switching to Jersey Mike's soon.
But like I look at some places, man. I haven't how much is your Rex sandwich there?
It's like $9, man. But usually if I eat it, like I might message Sarah, like depending on how late I took it, I'm like, I might be good for dinner today. Like if I take like a 3 o'clock lunch, because sometimes work can get that busy, I'm like, Sarah, like I'm good. Like,
yeah. All right, and then he says, would you or have you bought a console just for a single game? I nearly did for Starfield, and I was talked out of it by another listener, Matt Lowe. I just want to thank him publicly. All right, so would you ever buy a console for one game?
I feel like it always starts with one game, but then I try and justify it by looking at future releases. But definitely, like, I bought the PS2 for the Tony Hawk games. Like, I know I did that.
I bought a GameCube for Wind Waker.
Yeah. N64, I bought it for the wrestling game. No Mercy. So, like, I've done it in the past before. Now, though, since information's readily available, it's easier to be like, what games are coming out to justify that purchase? Yeah. But usually it starts with one game. My PS3, I bought that originally for Heavenly Sword, and then I justified.
But I did not have a GameCube until I heard about Wind Waker, and then I had to get a GameCube.
Yeah.
Legend of Zelda Wind Waker,
and then you
I played
found
multiple
other
things
games,
on it. Yeah. So. All right, last question of the night. Stefan Wren, do you think that Purdy is a top 5 quarterback playing today, and how far do you think that the 49ers will go this year? Who is Purdy?
Apparently he's the quarterback for the 49ers, maybe.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Do you know his first name?
Jake. I don't know.
Brock.
That's not close, but okay. It has a K in it. Yeah, sure. They're going to go halfway.
No, I do not think that Brock Purdy is the top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Or is it 17 now? 17 now?
17,
okay,
yeah. I do think that the San Francisco 49ers are the best team in the NFC. So they would be who I would, if you had asked me today, they are who I would predict to be in the Super Bowl from the NFC. But I do not think that Brock Purdy is a top 5 quarterback. Matter of fact, I think he is a bottom 3rd quarterback in the league. He just has every single weapon around him is kind of ridiculous, and he has a really good coach.
So it's a system team.
But yeah, but it's a system team. It's a system, and he fits the system. Like he is the prototypical quarterback that he wants. But in order for you to be a top 5 quarterback, in my opinion, in the NFL, I need to be able to put you on any team and see you improve that team. And I do not think that Brock Purdy can do that.
So he's not a Thomas
full disclosure,
Brady.
Michael. Well, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round. Brock Purdy was the last player drafted in the draft 2 years ago. He is what the NFL calls Mr. Irrelevant, as in the last player drafted.
So he's already had a great career.
He has not lost, currently, Michael, he has not lost a game that he has started and finished.
His name, Brock Purdy, just makes it seem like he would be the worst person in college. Yeah, he looks like he looks like the worst.
He went to Iowa State.
That counts against him.
So, but the one game that he has started and lost, he did not finish because he got injured. So just full disclosure on that. So,
yeah, his
right,
picture says I peaked in high school, but whatever.
Jesus Christ. What's your thoughts on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce? No, I'm kidding.
Good for them. I hope they're happy. I didn't know who that guy was. He pops up in TikTok videos talking about football, and I'm like, why the fuck does TikTok think I like football? I'm a Taylor Swift fan, but I don't know who Kelce is.
He's one of the best tight ends in the NFL, just for the record.
He's got a brother, right? His brother won the Super Bowl?
Jason plays with... Yeah, no, Travis Kelce's won the Super Bowl twice. He played against his brother last year in the Eagles. His brother's an offensive lineman for the Eagles.
Okay.
He's older. He's getting ready to retire. Travis Kelce's jersey sales since Sunday have gone up 400%.
It's going to be great when she breaks up with him, and then we see them burn his jerseys, because that's just tradition. They when she breaks up.
And I know you don't like football, so this doesn't affect you at all. But 25.5 million people watch that team kick your Bears' ass.
Oh yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, you say yours, like I'm like, oh, my Bears. It's like, I'm wearing orange right now, but this is for C2E2, not for the Bears.
No, it's a Bears shirt. Nobody can see what the logo is. You have a Bears shirt on.
No, I don't.
I'm just kidding. So, hockey started, right? It's for Chicago.
12 days until the Bulls report to training camp.
It's all right. Well, the Milwaukee Bucks just got a lot better today, buddy.
They did.
So, all right. That's enough of that. Sorry. So, socials at Digital Days Pod on Twitter. Michael is at the first MJC. I am at Good Dave Hunt. Facebook group is in the show notes. Discord server is in the show notes. The most popular Discord server channel in our Discord server is the collections thing.
Hell yeah.
Michael randomly posts his pictures in there and says, don't judge me. I bought this for $1 or for $5 or whatever. And then Grey Ghost Tom is in there posting some stuff, and
he travels for his job, and he's currently trying to complete all the 3D PS3 games. So we get
he
updates.
Travels periodically for his job. So he lives relatively in your vicinity, by the way.
Yeah, but we hit the same stores apparently, because he'll be like, oh, I hit this one in Brookfield. I'm like, I like that one in Brookfield. So
yeah.
And then Palmer just sits there in the shadows being like, I have better shit than both of you.
Look, I have a silver and blue one. He's like, I have a silver blue one together. You're like, damn it.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about he wants to sell everything or box everything up, and then he doesn't sell
I'm still asking for my staff writer discount.
He told me, and I don't even know how up to date on this he is, but he's been promising me Destiny crap for like 3.5 years.
I'm just saying.
He has so much Destiny t-shirts and little collectible trinket stuff, and I'm like, just throw it all in a box and name a price, man.
Palmer,
like,
if any Kingdom Hearts stuff you own goes on your eBay store before passing through me, I'm gonna be hurt.
You have to speak really slow because he listens to the podcast at 1.5 speed. So if you really want him to, you have to slow it down, because otherwise we talk.
Ben, Kingdom Hearts shit to me.
All right. You can also join our Facebook group, Discord, like I mentioned, and Patreon is there also. So please consider checking those things out.
1.5 speed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's apparently it's how he functions.
I tried to do that, and I hated myself.
I think Angela does it now too.
It's no.
Like audiobooks, she does it on, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. It's like I feel like the 1 or 2 times I've tried it, I feel like I'm listening to the Micro Machines band from the commercials.
Yeah, I don't comprehend things moving that fast. That's why I've never been able to learn Spanish.
So yeah, check out those. As always, sharing the show, following, subscribing are all free. You can do any of those things to help us grow and get other people to listen. Share it with your friends. And I hope everyone has a great week, and we'll talk to you later. Keep moving forward.
Don't be a dick. See ya.